This is Russell Dobular sitting in for Jimmy Dore, who will be in Denver on May 11th. Go to jimmydore.com for tickets. So let's go to some good news. You're bringing everybody down, Max. Israeli officials believe ICC is preparing arrest warrants over war. Israeli officials increasingly believe that the International Criminal Court is preparing to issue arrest warrants for senior government officials on charges related to the conflict with Hamas, according to 5 Israeli and foreign officials. The Israeli and foreign officials also believe the court is weighing arrest warrants for leaders from Hamas. If the court proceeds, the Israeli officials could potentially be accused of preventing the delivery of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip and pursuing an excessively harsh response to the Hamas-led October 7th attacks on Israel, according to 2 of the 5 officials. The Israeli officials, who are worried about the potential fallout from such a case, said they believe that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is among those who might be named in a warrant. Mr. Netanyahu's office would not comment, but on Friday, the Prime Minister said on social media that any intervention by the ICC, quote, would set a dangerous precedent that threatens the soldiers and officials of all democracies fighting savage terrorism and wanton aggression. He also said, under my leadership, Israel will never accept any attempt by the ICC to undermine its inherent right of self-defense. The threat to seize the soldiers and officials of the Middle East's only democracy and the world's only Jewish state is outrageous. We will not bow to it. If the ICC does issue arrest warrants, they would come with deep stigmatization, placing those named in them in the same category as foreign leaders like Omar al-Bashir, the deposed president of Sudan, and Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, who was the subject of a warrant last year tied to his war against Ukraine. So not surprisingly, the U.S. is working to stop the ICC from issuing the arrest warrant, but their grounds are pretty funny. They're arguing that they shouldn't issue the warrants because Israel isn't a party to the Rome Statute under which the ICC operates, but neither is Russia.
Is this just for black people, the ICC?
But we were very fulsome about issuing a warrant for Putin. And here's Speaker Johnson, as we call him around these parts, Mike Glory Hole of the House Johnson. The ICC should stand down on this immediately. Israel has the right to defend itself from terrorist organizations seeking to destroy it. Note to the ICC, the real criminals are with Hamas and in Iran. So, Max, what are your thoughts about these warrants? Will they issue them, and are they meaningful if they do?
Well, I don't know if they're going to issue them. And I would be surprised, Kurt, if they indicted a white person. Although I guess Putin, Milosevic.
They would consider themselves white.
A white U.S. ally.
Hitler would not have considered the Russians white, but they consider themselves white.
They're Asiatic.
They're Asiatic, yes. The Asian hordes.
Okay, so a non-Asiatic white person in Netanyahu. Although his family comes from Lithuania and his real name is Milakovsky, so I don't know where he fits in there. But the prosecutor of the ICC is basically under the control of British intelligence and has been. And the warrant for Putin was completely based on this concocted piece of research produced by a State Department funded operative who was working at Yale. We covered this at the Grayzone in great detail, showed how the warrant was based on phony research. Putin was accused of stealing children from Ukraine, thousands of children, right. Like, you know, he's Jeffrey Epstein or something. He's running around in a white van stealing children. The reality is he was evacuating children in areas controlled by the Russian military where people were ethnically Russian, wanted to be evacuated from the war zone to the Russian Federation. And a lot of the children were given, young people were, you know, put in free schools and camps that were like, where they got like classical music instruction. We actually, our reporter, Jeremy Lafredo, visited one of those camps. And the U.S. was, you know, encouraging this all the way, even though Russia was not a party to the Rome Statute. Now we have the U.S. declaring that it's going to block this potential ICC warrant, but I would be surprised if Karim Khan, someone like him who owes his career to the British government, would actually do this. It would show that the situation is so severe and that the indictment was so airtight that he simply had to do it. And I would agree. This seems like the easiest indictment for the ICC to issue, because not only do you have evidence of war crimes on the ground, almost the entire Gaza Strip outside of Rafah is destroyed. You have over 40,000 dead, more children killed in any conflict in such a short period of time than any conflict, I think, in the last 20 or 30 years, certainly in the last 4 years. You also have intent. You have clear intent to commit war crimes. They're not even trying to prove genocide, to commit war crimes expressed by the leadership, by Netanyahu, who referred to the Palestinians as Amalek. Look up the biblical resonance of that term. Yoav Gallant, the defense minister, who called them human animals and announcing that he would commit the war crime of turning off their water and their heat and their electricity. And, Amihai Eliyahu, the housing minister, I think, he called for dropping a nuclear bomb on Gaza. I could just go on and on. Yeah, smart. That'll end it.
In a place the size of New Jersey, use nuclear weapons. That's a brilliant.
Yes, when you're right next door.
They keep Jews safe there.
Yeah.
They're smart nukes. They only kill Arabs.
Well, this rumor has been pretty persistent. So, I mean, I'm hopeful that there is something to it, that the crimes that Israel is committing in broad daylight are just a bit much. I mean, it seems like you wouldn't be hearing this again and again if it wasn't going to happen. Again, maybe that's naive, but
yeah,
it seems.
I mean, Netanyahu issued a statement about it, warning against it. So it is possible. The ICJ, which is obviously different from the ICC, and Israel is a party to the ICJ, has already issued a provisional ruling that Israel must cease committing genocide.
Right. Yeah.
And the judge, the chief justice, the chief judge there was an American judge who I was actually shocked that she went along with the decision. So Israel's in hot water. Netanyahu could face an actual warrant, and it would mean that he would have to simply be careful about where he travels. It would certainly not affect his ability to rule in Israel.
Right.
The Israeli public, it would mean nothing to them except that the whole world is against them, that everyone's anti-Semitic.
Everyone's anti-Semitic. Yes.
But I feel like history is being made right now in these past weeks and coming weeks. We're experiencing years of history that I've been waiting for a long time and never thought I would actually get to witness, where we're starting to see the underpinnings of Zionism be unraveled.
And very quickly. You're seeing a lot of people who really didn't know very much about this being exposed to it. And once they're exposed to the facts, it's not very hard to make the case that by definition, a Jewish state in an Arab neighborhood is an apartheid state by definition. That's not a hard concept for people to grasp.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is all coming apart pretty quickly in like the public mind worldwide. The question, though, and this kind of builds on what you were saying, Max, is, how quickly do we see the world start to look like it is reconsidering the underpinnings of Zionism? Because as you guys were just saying, if Netanyahu does have a warrant written out for him at the ICC, the response will no doubt be, well, the ICC is anti-Semitic. The world has it in for the Jews. This is proof of that. That will not only take hold in Israel, obviously, but certainly our government here and our media here will do everything they can to make sure that that is the dominant view here. And even if it isn't the dominant view here at the rank and file, meaning amongst we the people, that will almost certainly be the dominant view amongst the people in power who decide whether or not to continue to support Israel. So, like, what do you think? I mean, this is a tough one, but what do you think the lag time is, if you will, in between a potential like arrest warrant, these formal declarations of Israel as a criminal state, and the world to start looking like that?
Well, let's just consider who is behind Netanyahu. Can you think of anyone else who could potentially lead Israel through a crisis like this other than Netanyahu, as odious as he is? I mean, think of any names come to mind? Any faces? No one knows who they are. Most
Epstein's
of them can't even
dead, right? Yeah, I don't know.
Epstein's dead, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they can like nationalize, I don't know, Seinfeld.
I mean,
They like
Gavir
Harvey
would be a
Weinstein
likely,
once he gets out.
Gavir.
successor.
Yeah.
Right?
When Harvey Weinstein gets out.
I'm just there
guy
aren't
makes
that
good
many
movies,
people who
come
speak
on.
English.
Yeah.
They don't really have
Right.
many people who can speak English behind Netanyahu that have national appeal. He's sort of a unique figure. They call him King Bibi in Israel. He might be hated by most of the population, but the segment of the population that loves him, loves him intensely and is out in the street defending him. There's no other figure in Israel like that.
I mean, Osama bin Laden
So-
had that kind of appeal.
Hey, come see us do a live show. We're going to be in Denver, Colorado, May 11th, Los Angeles, California, doing a live panel show with a celebrity panel and video, Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey, with Max Blumenthal, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Irvine, California, Chicago, Illinois, with another celebrity panel, live video show in Chicago, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.